I'm Mike Zima, a digital marketing expert, and today I'm going to talk about how to set up SEO for your WordPress site. This is going to be a really handy search engine watch article, so please follow along in this video. Check the description of the video for the breakdown and the navigation to the certain sections that you might find interesting. And if you have any questions, make sure you drop a comment here on YouTube or a comment on the search engine watch article or tweet at me and I'll get back to you with a response. And if it's a great question, I'll put it in the FAQ section in the YouTube description. And today I'm going to explain to you how to set up SEO correctly on WordPress. If you have built a website, you want one thing: to share your product, service, or information with as many people as possible. The thing is, when a brand new website is created, it won't show up on the first page of Google search results. To do that, you need SEO, so we're going to show you how to use it with WordPress. SEO stands for Search Engine Optimization. It's the process of optimizing your website to ensure it appears organically on search engine results, such as Google. Basically, if you have a website, you need SEO. SEO strategies analyze search engine algorithms and help you build authority and visibility for your site. For years, WordPress has been one of the most popular builders. Its popularity comes from three main pillars. It's customizable and offers plenty of tools to build a site to your liking. It's very SEO friendly. It's affordable and has excellent technical support. You can set up a strong SEO foundation. That is how we do it in these 10 simple steps. Step 1, optimize your URL structure. We recommend choosing the correct permalink structure from the start to avoid SEO problems in the future. This is how your URL structure should look like. It's your website, your category, your subcategory, and a product page. This is not limited to e-commerce stores, but you can think about it as nesting dolls, like Russian nesting dolls. You have your main big category on the outside, which is going to be one layer in. You're going to have another layer within that and another layer within that. You shouldn't go on to infinity. You want to have very clear categories defined, but you want to make sure that your website is organized in a way like a tree where it has branches and smaller branches extending outward. So try to keep it pretty and simple. This is what we call a pretty URL. WordPress didn't always have pretty URLs, and you can set this up in the default WordPress settings. The most common one is not having the blog set up. So make sure your blog is set up so when you're creating blog posts, it nests underneath your blog category. It's very common for WordPress sites to have their blogs right under the URL, which isn't as clear to Google. And if you're trying to use tools to analyze your content and how you're performing, you're missing an opportunity to simply navigate your website with these tools and get a better understanding of how your SEO is working. So you can enable this by navigating to the WordPress menu, clicking settings, and then selecting the permalink options. Make sure you're always backing up your site and have the proper redirects in case you're doing this to a site that's been around for a while. With a backup, sometimes the permalinks will shut down your WordPress site and you may have to restart it again. So be patient and it should be working for you in no time. Choosing between WW and non-WW. This is really a preference, but a lot of the time when you're setting up a WordPress and a self-hosted WordPress site, sometimes you don't get the URLs right. So make sure that you test all the different versions of your URL. Do you want your site to be WW your website, or do you want it to be non-WW your website? If you choose one, make sure your variations are redirecting to the default one because you're choosing a default here. And if both versions exist, this can affect your SEO. This is something that's been around in the technical SEO space for a while, but WordPress sites have gotten better in the ease of setup. So make sure you follow all of the instructions when setting up your custom domain name and test the links. If you're not testing the links and it's not redirecting, you could have a problem, and this will save you months, if not years, of SEO headache by losing an opportunity to rank higher on Google. Secure your site. Set up an SSL certificate to make your site HTTPS secure. This will make your pages more likely to show up on the first page search results. This is true. Over 90% of search results on Google now are HTTPS. This is nothing new. It's been around for almost 5 years now. Google has been really pushing it and making it a ranking factor. So you have to make sure your site is secure by default. Sometimes you can hire your hosting company to do this for you. You can also do this for yourself using Cloudflare and using free certificates. So there's a lot of really easy methods to approach this, but you have to make sure you choose one when applying it to your site. Step 4, install Yoast. This SEO plugin will make your life easier. It's easy to use and helps you optimize content for the best SEO results. The reason we like Yoast is in 2019, they updated to version 11 and they baked in a lot of goodies, especially one of the goodies that I'll go into in a later slide, which is setting up your schema for your site. Schema is a special language that Google created with developers in order to sort different pieces of information. So the quicker you help Google sort information on your site, whether it's a product, a person, an event, a concert, whatever your objective is, the quicker you'll have enhanced features inside of Google. So make sure you take notes. Yoast is also very user-friendly and they have courses and tutorials to teach you how to use their plugin. But Yoast is not going to be that intuitive. It recommends adding the keywords based off of its simple little wizard, and it's not always practical from an SEO point of view, so don't put all of your resources and SEO expertise into Yoast. You have to work outside of Yoast, and Yoast is the tool that will get you to better ranking on Google. Step 5, verification. Submit your website to search engines like Google, Bing, and Yahoo, and verify your website's ownership. If you do this, you'll be able to track your site's performance. These are free tools available from Google, Bing, and Yahoo, and you can submit your site. All you have to do is go to Google Webmaster Tools, also known as Search Console, install it on your site through either a certificate they give you, a piece of code, or you can just automatically approve it through Google Analytics if you have Google Analytics installed on your site. The Google Analytics approach is going to be the easiest one, and now Bing and Yahoo have a feature where you can actually import in your Search Console to Bing and utilize the same features there. Step 6, optimize your XML sitemap. This way, search engines can know when your site has been updated. This one is very interesting because as you start adding plugins and portfolio plugins to your WordPress site and different plugins that create different web pages, those plugins in essence will create their own version of their sitemap for that part of the site. We talked about different nesting approaches need to happen in the linking structures. These plugins do it automatically, so you have to be aware an XML sitemap will be created. And when that XML sitemap will be created, it may not be something that you want on Google, for instance. It could be your portfolio. You would want that on Google. If you're launching a new theme, you might have a lot of template files that are showing up in your XML sitemap. Also, if you have web pages that don't have a lot of content and they're just images or attachments, you want to make sure you disable that by default. This means you could receive a penalty from Google for having what we call in the SEO world thin content. So just make sure your posts and your pages are inside your XML sitemap. Make sure your products and your categories are inside of your XML sitemap. Product categories and blog categories are going to be different, so they're both important. And any other pages that you might be utilizing to create web pages. But don't go beyond that because you want to make sure your core pages are indexing with Google. Step 7, optimize your robots.txt file. This file lives in your site server and is meant to instruct the search engine robots how to crawl and index within your domain. You can update it in 2 ways, through Yoast or through another plugin called virtual robots.txt. Some things to take note here is this is very simple to do. A lot of the time, WordPress sites have these bad default files. They just need to be configured. Google is smart enough to ignore it to a point, but we don't want to throw up roadblocks to prevent Google from finding your site. There's a lot of conversation around how these files actually impact results and what they can do and how you should block certain parts of your site if you want to block it. For instance, if a developer is building a site, they would want to do a disallow the homepage and all the links from the homepage because you're doing a new revision to your site. However, developers leave that disallow, meaning your SEO will not come through on Google, and this will impact results. That's why the allow is important, because it means allow all links from the home page. And that's one of the most important default ones that you need to have there. Sometimes you can disallow landing pages or pages you want unindexed from Google because you're using them for different purposes, and that's important to consider too. And this allows you to take advantage of some features. But if you want to disallow a web page, sometimes it's better to go to that web page to do a no index, no follow instead of doing it via the robots file. And then finally, you want to make sure your sitemap is here. This is just a default thing you need to check off your list. Some plugins, SEO plugins, do add the sitemap there when you enable it. Others, like Yoast, you'll have to go in there and add it yourself. Step 8, create your HTML sitemap. Your site's SEO can benefit from having both an HTML sitemap and an XML sitemap. Careful of default settings on these plugins because there are a lot of pages you can show. Plugins often create their own sitemap files, so you'll have many more web pages than you've considered in the very beginning. And theme templates can be found in sitemaps too, so this is a good way to audit your site. The XML sitemap is a requirement. The HTML sitemap is not as massive of a requirement before, but it is something that you can create to enhance your user experience. And if it is a focal point of your website and it has good user experience, then it will have good SEO benefit for your site. But it's something that you should at least consider and start getting aware and thinking about your site, and it will reveal the structure of your website so you can almost concretely define that within WordPress and have a better user experience by creating a better structure. Step 9, speed it up. A good website equals a speedy website. Today, websites need to have both high quality design and images while also load almost instantly. A slow site means bounce rates and lost visitors. Also, your loading speed affects your SEO rankings. And this is very true. Google has really been pushing to have speed enhancements on Google because that's going to increase the user experience and people are going to love using the Google product more. But this is falling on, the responsibility is falling on the webmasters to implement it. In 2019, mobile page speed decreased 24%. So people are not following the trend. Speed is going to help you with SEO. It's not going to be the only deciding factor because there's hundreds of ranking factors. Speed will be a deciding factor when you start going into advertising and paid ads because that is going to give you a competitive edge. So if you're following the Google Page Speed Insights report and you're following along closely and making sure your site is fast, this will be a great development for your marketing campaign. Also look into working with developers that can speed up your site too from the very beginning because that's where you'll have the most benefit. Install Schema Markup. This helps search engines deliver valuable results to visitors who search for you on Google. So Schema Markup is enhanced search engine results. For instance, if you're using Yoast in your local business, you can take advantage of the Yoast local business add-on, fill in your business information, and this will tell Google all of the business information is present on your site, and it's also linking up with your Google business page, it's linking up with your social media, and this is helping Google understand your brand and how all the pieces fit together. When you present yourself to Google and give them all of the concrete blocks and they put it together and give you enhanced search engine results. So you have to take into consideration that schema is important. Schema is also important for reviews. Schema is also important for product pages. Schema is also important for blogs, frequently asked questions, services. So there is a lot of things you can take advantage of, and there's actually plugins that do this. Launch your SEO campaign. So here's your checklist. Your site is set up, and this is something you almost only need to do once, unless you're making changes to your site or you delete a plugin or something happens and something drops off. Good SEO is going to check this at least once or twice a month, making sure they have everything. You should be able to see this inside of Google Search Console. So as a baseline, when you're creating a WordPress site, start with 10 high quality web pages with over 500 words each. You can always add more text later, but you want to fill out your pages because Google will find you for keywords. Next, you want to research the best blogs in your industry. How you do this depends on your skill set. You can use Google, you can use different content marketing tools like SEMrush or Ahrefs, and determine what's the best content in your industry. When you find that content, find what's missing and write that part of the story, and Google is going to start filling you in to the top 10 search results once you start creating very authoritative and focused content. If you're not a good writer, this is going to be a good time to coordinate with a writer on your team to make this happen. Find out how to write better blogs by testing different ideas. So you want to start creating blogs and using Google Search Console to measure how they're doing. And over time, based off of those measurements, you want to refine and start crafting the story based off of the results. Find content marketing opportunities for your text, voice, and audio. Reach out to websites in your industry that aren't competitors and will allow you to focus on creating content for their site and their audience so you can bridge that gap. This is a good way to not only create content, but also build a strategy to extend and do outreach online to build content opportunities for your business. Thank you for watching this video. I look forward to making more. I have big plans for 2020. If you have any questions, just tweet me at Michael Zima and I'll be happy to answer them.